of March, the first case found in Depok. It make a fuss. And in 31st of March 2020, the government issued a regulation number 21 of 2020 that allows local government to limit person in and out their respective area. The social activities is limited and it has a several impacts. There are two impacts that became my focus today. Firstly is unemployment. You can look at this diagram. In the mid-year of 2020, it increased a drastic increase. And in February 2020, 6.88 million unemployed. It decreased 60,000 than the same period in 2019. And the government issued an unemployment rate due to the pandemic increase to reach 5.23 million people. Second is, at the 2021, the Minister of Finance, Sri Mulyani, estimated the economic value loss due to the pandemic was 356 billion rupiah. We, as part of Indonesian societies, must think the solution to face this condition. How to improve the impact of limiting economic activities during the COVID-19 pandemic on society's economy according to the latest policies. MSME is hero. Why MSME said hero? First is MSME makes society more independent, creative, technology literate, and having their needs fulfilled. In this 4.0 era, all of us use technology, so we must to open online shop to market and promote our products more broadly. Second, one sector that is being intensified by the government. The government issued a various regulation to support the MSME in Indonesia. Third, absorbed a lot of labor. According to Investment Coordination Board, MSME absorbed 97% of the workforce by 2020. It's a lot than the other sector. Fourth, great contribution to Indonesia's GDP. According to Investment Coordination Board, with a total of 64.19 million MSME right now, it's contributing 61.97% to a GDP, or worth 8,573.89 billion rupiah. Government policies to advance MSME. First is, President Joko Widodo requires all ministers or institutions to spend at least 40% on MSME products. I think it's a bold policy to start advancing our MSME. Second is, the Ministry of Finance is bound to provide loans for debtors. First, to restructuring lowering interest rates. Second, extending payment terms. And the third is delaying credit installment. Hope with this regulation, people doesn't afraid to take loans for start their business. And by doing of this advantage to doing MSME, we must to lobby and promote our MSME that can compete with foreign qualities. Pandemic is getting better. In 2022, Indonesian COVID-19 case decreased considerably. In 16 February 2022, the daily case reached 718 cases. But today, it decreased considerably into 6,000 at one point like that. And then, according to that, the COVID-19 task force has issued two circulars. First is circular number 11/2022 for domestic travel that eliminate the requirement to show a negative PCR test if we, as a domestic traveler, fully vaccinated. Second is circular number 12/2022 for international travel. It's only be required to quarantine for 1 times 24 hours, then previously 3 days until 2 weeks. This regulation take effect from 8 March 2022. Okay, now turning our attention to how we can take the advantage of this regulation. First, we will do the business trip. Why? The business trip will build the business relationship and cooperation to grow our capital income. Because if we do the business trip, it will attract the both of foreign or local investors. Second, open more job opportunities. Especially for some people who have expertise in fields that are not available in the region. Why? Because think about not all regions have mines, and the people who have expertise in mine, maybe in mine, we will go to the place that where our expertise needed. Distributing goods is more flexible. Flexibility in distribution will raise consumer demands. Why? Because if the distribution is not constrained, marketing will be wider. Next is absorb more labor. That I mentioned previously, the distribution raise the number of consumer. It means also escalating amount of production, so the company need more labor. Next is do export import. This activity will increase not only our amount of profit, but also our country foreign exchange. Next is, yes, Indonesian leading sectors, tourism will be operate again. Because at operate again, we can more promoting our region and telling regional specialties that can grow our income and also regional income. Okay, let's work together to fix the economic crisis and accelerate Indonesia economic recovery. Because nothing is impossible, the word is say I'm possible. That's all from me. Thank you for your attention, and I'm sorry for the mistake and problem that I make. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. It's okay, Zahra. And thank you for the presentation. And wow, everyone has done really well. Thank you so much, guys. Dan sekarang ke sesi penjurian berarti. So untuk Kak Nadia, maybe you have like a feedback or any suggestion to our participants here. Silahkan, Kak.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Salsa. And also thank you for all three participants who have presented their essays. Overall, you have done a good job, but there are some things that I would like to give some insight about. First, I would like to give insight about the general structure of an essay. So when you do a presentation, there are some things that you want to pay attention to. The first thing is the language that you use. You want to make sure that the language you use can be easily understood by your audience. So this is the difference between writing and also giving a presentation. When you write something down, you can use more complex vocabulary. You can use the different kinds of tenses to further get your point across. This is because the idea that you want to give to your audience is written down. Jadi kalau misalkan kita tulis, itu kan nanti konteksnya semua ada di tulisannya itu kan. Sedangkan kalau misalkan kita presentasi, when we present something, you're trying to get your point across solely through your words, solely through your presentation and your voice, your intonation. So the important thing is, walaupun mungkin di esainya kita pakai kata-kata yang besar, terms yang mungkin agak susah dipahami sama semua orang, di presentationnya kita bisa tone it down a little bit. Kita bisa pakai kata-kata yang lebih nggak harus yang dumb it down banget, tapi make sure that it's understood by your audience. So one thing to take note for the future, perhatiin audiensnya. Apakah audiensnya nanti itu anak SMA, anak kuliahan. Kalau di sini kan for the most part anak SMA ya. SMA to university students. So for the vocabulary, it's already sesuai sama audiensnya, but please make sure you pay attention to that in the future. The next thing I want to talk about is the main structure of how an essay should be put together. So for the beginning, you want to make sure you build the urgency. Kenapa sih kita harus ngomongin topik ini? Tadi kan topiknya ada panic buying, ada tentang ekonomi juga, and also following the world is harmless. Jadi ada 3 background yang teman-teman harus bikin tuh urgensinya. You have to build the urgency dengan misalkan ngasih data, dengan misalkan ngasih cerita, and there some of you, most of you already have done this, so that's a good start. But make sure in the future untuk backgroundnya sendiri, it's going to be your first impression ke audience-nya. So other than making the storyline atau giving the data, you can also play with your intonation, especially because we are online. Mungkin kayak untuk next competition-nya bakal lebih banyak yang offline. Tapi while we're still online, body language kita mungkin nggak terlalu kelihatan di kamera karena ya terbatas ke muka kita doang kan. If you want to use your hands, you have to use it up here, dan itu agak unnatural. A way that you can counter that is through your intonation. When you want to say something that is important, you can make your voice kind of soft before you start to give the data. Atau apa ya? You can also give pauses, like what I just did right there. If you give a pause, it will make people reflect on what you just said, and they will think about what you said, and that gives an impact to your speech. So those are some tricks that you can use for when you do your presentation. And one thing I was going to say, and this is also relevant for both online and offline presentations, is signposting. Signposting is when you say things like first, second, third, next. Those are words that can give direction to your presentation, because again, when you give a presentation, it's all audio, right? You can't, there's no text that you will give to your audience. So you want to make sure that your audience is following, and one way you can do that is through signposting. So that's another tip. After the background, building urgency, you want to give the reason why, or reintroduce your title. Like, after giving you this background, after showing you this data, I believe that it is important for us to talk about the topic that we have today, which is increasing the number of healthcare workers in Indonesia, for example, kayak gitu. Nah, baru abis itu go into your arguments. Arguments mungkin ini nggak ada structure yang universal ya. You can structure it the way you want, but I believe that a good way to structure arguments is, for example, first, why do I believe that healthcare workers should be increased? Karena datanya menunjukkan sekian. We are having trouble, itu that's data is your friend. Kalau misalkan presentation, when you show your audience data, they're going to believe you more because it has shown that you have done research. And after that, you can gak cuma nyampein data, tapi juga nyampein your own conclusion. Based on the data that I have presented, we can conclude that there is a need for increasing healthcare workers in Indonesia. This is going to help society by 1, apa, 2, apa. So that's a good way to structure your arguments. And I think maybe you guys have already heard of a couple of different kinds of structures, ya, misalkan kayak STAR or PREP, there are many kinds of structures that you can use, and it doesn't matter which one you use, but how you get your point across itu juga penting. Terus terakhirnya, after you give all of your arguments, you want to make sure to tie it back to your main idea or your main title. Based on my arguments, we believe that's something that we should be talking about or we should be urging misalkan untuk advocate. It goes back to the purpose of your writing itself. So in the end, you can give a strong conclusion and kalau misalkan penambahan kayak quote, story, itu sebenarnya bagian dari teknik storytellingnya ya, which is a good thing. And it's a part of your style. Jadi nggak ada satu cara yang bakal universal untuk semuanya. So those are some things to keep in mind about the how you deliver your presentation and also how you structure your essay. Mungkin aku bakal masuk ke feedback masing-masing sekarang. For Kaya, hello Kaya. I'm sorry that you are not in a good condition. Hopefully you can get better really quick. So first on your presentation, thank you. You took the topic of panic buying. One thing that I did find from your presentation was that you didn't explicitly state the sources. So for example, you had data, but you didn't put the sources inside of your presentation. This is something that you will get used to in university. Maybe in high school, it's not something that is widely talked about, but don't forget to put the sources in your presentation because it will make it look more credible later on. You also opened with storytelling about how your friend's grandmother died because of the lack of oxygen because of people panic buying. That was a good way to open your presentation. And it will help your audience remember your own story as well. So that was good. However, let me read my notes first. Okay, for the part where you explained about what should the government do, you had 5 parts: socialization, setting the maximum of products, and 3 more points. These are good points, but you could further strengthen them by giving more data on your slides. So I noticed that you put 1 slide with 5 boxes in it to help your audience visualize your points better. You could divide those into 5 more slides, for example. Give them a couple of points. You don't need to make it like a whole slide full of text, but you can give them some points, some pictures, just so they can follow you better. And for the conclusion, it was to be a smart buyer. I think that it could be also further strengthened by misalkan tie back to what you already said in your previous, misalkan tadi kan socialization, maximum products, regulate necessary items. Terus pas terakhirnya, be a smart buyer. Be a smart buyer by dan kayak bisa dilanjutin sama tips to be a smart buyer. I think that would further strengthen your presentation. That's all I have for Kaya. Next, I'll be moving on to Kinata. All right, thank you. Maybe I can, if you guys want to ask questions after this, we could do that. But first, I'm going to continue with the adjudication. Next is Kineta. Thank you for your presentation about following the world is harmless. So you opened your presentation with a quote. This is also a good way to start your storytelling because maybe when we watch people do presentations, there are several ways, yeah, kaya ako bilang tadi, several ways to catch your audience's attention. One of them is a quote, so that was already good. But one thing that I did notice from your presentation was some of the vocabularies were not relevant for the presentation itself. Like there are some vocabularies that could have been more simplified so that the audience can hear it better. Even though you did write it on your slides, to make it more easy listening on your audience, you could, for next time, make your words more easy to digest. And then I'd like to go into the solutions. You gave 3 solutions, which could be also the same as Kaya. You could also give more data to back it up. So you can strengthen your arguments. For example, should it be protracted by circumstances? Nah, di sini, what do you mean? Kayak apa contohnya? Misalkan ada data, ada cerita sebelumnya. You can strengthen your case by these kinds of examples. And then the conclusion at the end, it was about needing to be resilient, needing to be able to adapt and grow and change. You could also give a call to action. Call to action maksudnya gimana audience kita bisa langsung bisa melakukan sebuah action yang bisa mendukung apa yang Kinata udah sampein tadi. Misalkan if it's about becoming more resilient, mungkin call to actionnya adalah be there for other people. Don't only think about yourself. That's just the example ya. Tapi kayak ada ajakan. Call to action itu mirip kayak ajakan. So that could also further strengthen your next presentation. Overall, good job. And finally, to Zahra, thank you for your presentation. You gave a speech, you gave a presentation about the topic economic struggle. Okay, so for your storyline itself, you started with the COVID definition, the timeline of COVID in Indonesia, and then you gave two points about what kind of impacts. Jadi it's good that you limited it to 2 points karena kita tahu kalau COVID itu dampaknya banyak banget kan, nggak bakal selesai kalau kita ngomongin semua dampak. So limiting it to 2 itu udah bagus ya karena kayak essay emang lebih tajam untuk topiknya sendiri. So that's good that you limited to that. And then after you told us about the 2 impacts, you then gave us the red thread that we needed, yaitu how to improve the impact according to the latest policies oleh government. Terus ada juga poinnya, misalkan MSMEs as heroes, sama government policies to advance apa yang udah dilakuin. Then I think you already gave a sufficient amount of data, a sufficient amount of news as well. So that is good for your arguments. And then in the end, you showed us that because of these policies, pandemicnya udah membaik, casesnya menurun, terus udah ada policies yang kayak eliminate PCR dan segala macam. And then you concluded the presentation with taking advantage of regulation by ada beberapa poin tadi ada 6. Nah, for these 6 points, I would like to, this is for everyone ya, kayak kadang we don't need to give many arguments, tapi kita ngasih aja misalkan kayak ada 3 cara atau 3 hal, or 3 ways to take advantage of regulation. Tapi kita benar-benar dalamin di situ kayak kenapa ini bakal, why is this going to be good for bukan why is this going to be good ya, misalkan ada take advantage of regulation, terus misalkan business trips. Nah daripada ada 6 poin, you could take 3 points and further explain di masing-masing poinnya. Kayak misalkan business trips, emang kenapa business trips bakal making the pandemic become less impact, karena dari business trips bakal ada partnership, dari partnership bakal ada peningkatan pendapatan, so we can build the flow from those kinds of arguments. Okay, one thing that I also did notice from Zahra was signposting. So you already said like 1, 2, next, that's a good thing. But one thing that I want to note is the background noise. Yeah, I know it's not always feasible for us to move to a place where it's quieter, but for future presentations, please make the effort to try to find somewhere more quiet, because maybe not all judges will be as lenient as me. Maybe some of them will disqualify you from the beginning because of the loud background noise, but your presentation was still audible. I still understood your points. Just make sure to keep that in mind for the future. And overall, good presentation. I like the red thread that you created throughout your presentation. And that is all from me. That is all the adjudications. Mungkin Salsa, if we wanted to do a question and answer session, would that be okay, or should we move to the next agenda?
Actually, it's up to you, Kak. If you want to
have
a question and answer session, boleh.
All right. Okay, mungkin ini question and answer-nya lebih ke performance-nya ya. I know not all competitions do question and answer based on performance, but like seeing that there is a limited number of participants today, and maybe if you guys want to ask anything, I would be happy to answer. Tapi kalau misalkan nggak ada pertanyaan juga nggak apa-apa.
Oke, jadi untuk para peserta bisa bertanya ke Kak Nadia ini kalau mau ada yang mau ditanyakan. Untuk tips-tipsnya tadi bagus banget tuh, bisa kita aplikasiin juga kalau ada tugas presentasi atau mau ikut lomba presentasi lagi, bisa. Dan ya kayaknya, ada yang Kineta mau bertanya kah? Okay, if you want to ask a question, you can unmute yourself.
I want to ask some question to Nadia. I want to ask before we write the essay kan, we have to think about the topic more. Kayak we have to understand the topic. Aku mau tanya aja sih, kalau misalnya kita nulis essay gitu, selain kita harus paham betul sama si topiknya ini, apalagi yang harus kita lakuin setelah itu? Jadi kalau misalnya kita nulis essay kan kita memang harus paham banget. Terus ada juga nih, misalnya kita disuruh menulis essay, tapi kita tuh gak terlalu paham sama topiknya. Nah itu aku caranya gimana?
Oke, thank you Kineta. Untuk esainya, for the first thing, benar kita harus paham sama apa yang kita tulis ya, dan mungkin ini bakal terus dilakuin, apalagi kayak nanti kalian bakal, kalau misalkan ada rencana kuliah, this is something that you also have to do. Kita harus benar-benar paham sama apa yang mau kita presentasiin. Nggak harus sampai yang kayak kita master banget, enggak, tapi seenggaknya paham tentang komponen yang mau kita tulis. So the first thing you need to do is read. Ini yang paling penting sih in the research process, kayak benar-benar harus baca. Misalkan aku ambil contohnya ini ya, increasing healthcare workers. Nah, apa sih definition dari healthcare worker? Berapa sih healthcare worker yang ada? Bagaimana healthcare worker itu terdampak? Jadi kita bisa buat outline pertanyaan dari apa namanya topiknya itu sendiri. Misalkan aku ambil dari ini ya, aku buka. Oke, mungkin topiknya misalkan kayak aku ambil aja economic struggle ya, kayak aku biasanya definisiin dulu economic struggle itu apa sih, economic struggle yang berhubungan sama COVID itu apa. Jadi ini sangat case based ya, tapi tiap kali kita punya topik, kita oprek dulu tuh dari definisi masing-masing kata yang ada di topik, itu yang biasa aku lakuin. Nah baru dari situ, kan yang susah tuh kadang kayak what am I supposed to write gitu kan, ini harus dapat poinnya apa. Nah baru dari abis bikin definition of those words, baru kebayang tuh, oh ternyata ada benang merah yang bisa dihubungin dari A ke B. Dan semakin banyak kita baca, semakin paham lagi tentang topik yang kita pengen tulis. Jadi misalkan economic struggle itu karena banyak orang yang sakit jadi nggak bisa kerja. Terus berhubungan sama healthcare worker, karena mereka adalah pekerja yang esensial, harus ngurusin pasiennya, mereka tuh nggak bisa sakit. Jadinya mereka harus tetap ada. Kalau misalnya mereka sakit pun mereka harus tetap bekerja. Nah, ada hubungan antara misalkan economic struggle negara yang nggak bisa membayar atau kasih insentif yang cukup untuk healthcare worker-nya. Jadi dari situ, dari apa yang kita udah baca, that's where we build the urgency. Kenapa ada masalah ini dan data pendukungnya. Nah, baru abis itu you go into your main ideas atau your main arguments. Misalkan we need to increase. Kenapa need to increase? Misalkan pertama, kesejahteraannya sedang menurun, jadi kita harus meningkatkan kesejahteraan si healthcare worker. Kedua, there are many people that need healthcare workers right now. Jadi that's another way. Nah, baru dari masing-masing poin yang kita pikirkan itu, we find the data dari itunya lagi. Jadi kadang kita nggak outline masalah dulu, baru cari data pendukung, atau kita nggak cari data pendukung, terus dari itu kita bikin outline. Jadi kayak kita bisa bolak-balikin, it's not always linear. Jadi, apa ya, yang, kan aku lagi nyusun skripsi juga ya, hal yang sering dibilang sama dosen itu tuh, kalau cari masalah, atau misalkan di sini kalau cari topik untuk essay, kita nggak usah harus plek ikutin orang lain karena itu akan menghambat cara kita berpikir untuk menulis. Kita bisa baca, kita bisa cari inspirasi, tapi pada akhirnya it's our own idea that we write. It's our own idea that we need to support gitu. Jadi don't let other people's writings dictate your own. Jadiin aja inspirasi, tapi kayak dari poin-poin mereka tuh apa sih yang bisa kita pakai sebagai pendukung esai kita. Jadi the first step benar-benar untuk baca, tapi sekaligus baca, you also kayak have an idea of what kind of questions you want to answer in your writing. Jadi bisa di outline juga kayak sambil baca, sambil tulis. Aku biasanya sambil tulis apa sih pertanyaan yang pengen aku jawab. Hopefully that answers your question. Kinata, do you have any other follow-up questions?
No, thank you for the answer, Kak Nadia.
Okay, you're welcome, Kinata. Any other questions?
Kak, maaf mau tanya.
Boleh.
Kan kayak aku tadi misalnya kayak pas presentasi itu ada aja sesuatu hal yang nggak kita plan sebelumnya gitu. Ada masalah apalah gimana kakak memposisikan di kakak saat itu. Kan pasti kan langsung blank tiba-tiba gitu kan. Gimana kakak biar kakak tiba-tiba nggak blank, nggak benar-benar langsung buyar banget gitu. Makasih.
Oke. Thank you Zahra. Ini hal yang dulu aku sering banget ngalamin ini, tapi ternyata abis tahu cara ngendaliinnya, I don't. Halo Tes, aku udah kedengeran lagi belum?
Tes, udah Kak.
Oke, itu contohnya ya, kayak aku nggak merencanakan untuk kelempar, and how you have to deal with that, it's part of the process. Jadi pertama adalah, tadi yang aku pengen bilang tuh, yang berhubungan sama ngeblank ya. The thing that helps me the most, karena aku sering ngeblank juga, tapi karena ada trik ini, jadi lebih gampang ngendaliinnya, just breathe, kayak daripada kita, misalkan aku lagi ngomong nih panjang lebar, terus tiba-tiba ngeblank, kayak just take a few seconds to breathe, karena semua orang bakal paham juga, mungkin dia lupa, it's a normal thing. Jadi mungkin kalau jangan panik itu kayak gimana sih caranya biar jangan panik, tapi itu kayak take a few deep breaths, kayak bener-bener nafas aja. This is something that my friend had to keep on reminding me, kayak not just breathe, slow down. So after taking breaths, when I ngeblank kadang itu kayak, okay, I can do this again. Continuing on the point that I had before. Jadi kalau misalkan mungkin kayak go back to the root cause, kenapa kita ngeblank? Karena kadang karena kita ngomongnya kecepatan nggak sih, tapi kita nggak sadar kita lagi ngomongin apa. Nah, it's also another sign to slow down ketika kita presentation ataupun misalkan speech. Make sure to focus on what you're saying juga, kayak jangan don't let your mind go faster than your mouth gitu, karena kayak kadang emang kita mikirin what are we going to say next, padahal yang poin sekarang ini aja belum kelar. So pacing, misalkan pas latihan presentasi, that's also a good thing to practice pada saat latihan. Pace yourself, kayak jangan sampai kecepatan ngomongnya, jangan sampai train of thought kita lebih cepat dari mulut kita. Nah, tapi pas misalkan benar-benar ngeblank di depan, take a few seconds to breathe, that's okay. Dan aku juga sering ngelakuin itu. Kalau misalkan ngeblank, just take a few seconds to breathe. Terus misalkan kayak, especially when you have distractions ya, kalau misalkan ada things that are distracting you, it's even harder to get back into focusing on what you need to do. Tapi over time, I think I've gotten used to just focusing on what I need to present and blocking out what is around me. So ini juga berkaitan sama jam terbang sih, kayak walaupun mungkin sekarang it's kind of hard for you to concentrate, don't let this become a barrier for you. Let this become a challenge that you need to overcome. Jadi semakin lama atau semakin sering latihan, sering presentasi, sering ikut lomba, it will become more natural to you. So itu juga untuk meningkatkan jam terbang. Terus misalkan koneksi, especially for online online presentations, jarang juga aku kelempar kayak lagi nyampein poinnya tiba-tiba kelempar. So most of the time people will understand too. It's not a sin for misalkan tiba-tiba koneksinya putus, but make sure you have a backup gitu. Kayak kalau misalkan kita wifi rumah, just to make sure kalau kita punya connection backup, kayak kita beli kuota untuk hari itu, there's nothing wrong with being prepared. Jadi walaupun we cannot control everything, luck usually comes to those that are prepared. Jadi don't forget to prepare yourself juga untuk hal-hal teknis kayak gitu. Mungkin itu yang aku bisa share ke Zahra dan teman-teman lainnya. Do you have any follow-up questions?
Thank you, Kak. Cukup.
Okay, welcome. Mungkin dari teman-teman ada pertanyaan lain?
I do have a question.
Okay,
Tadi kan kakak bilang to refuse our brain kalau misalnya kita lagi blind gitu. And how do I not say like that? Like if I refuse out my brain, I was like you know, and I know it's not good in TOEFL or IELTS test. So how to avoid say or Thank you so much.
Okay, Kaya, I think you guys have also noticed whenever I speak, sometimes I say whenever, and it's just natural karena saking seringnya aku ngomong and this is a hard thing to stop. Emang ini susah kalau misalkan jadi kebiasaan kayak aku. But one thing that I have been trying to do is to purposefully be quiet whenever I have the urge to say Jadi ini tuh emang melatih mindfulness sih. Kayak kita harus tahu kapan kita bakal ngomong dan we have to resist the urge to say tapi kita diam aja. Misalkan kayak barusan tadi, I had the urge to say karena kayak mengisi kekosongan emang udah jadi kebiasaan. But I actively made myself be quiet. Jadi every time you think you're going to say try to be quiet. Jangan mengisi dengan atau atau apa ya gitu. Nah, tapi one thing you can do misalkan untuk TOEFL atau IELTS kan itu di grade ya, kita dinilai untuk kelancaran kita. One thing that I've learned is you can kayak ask your bukan audience juga sih, tapi misalkan IELTS kan ada orang pengujinya kan, your hand gestures help them think with you. For example, misalkan pura-puranya aku lupa ya. So I was going to the market and I had to take my brother. Jadi kayak daripada kelihatan bengong, you can use your hands to show what you mean. Jadi itu adalah salah satu silent gesture yang sebenarnya juga bagian dari komunikasi. So even though we're not saying anything pada saat kita diam, tapi the way that we are bringing our hands to the front, itu kayak making our audience see that we want to say something or that we want to introduce someone into our story. Jadi itu salah satu cara dengan hand gesture. Cara yang sebelumnya itu yang actively be quiet whenever we notice that we want to say dan itu emang harus mindful banget sih, kayak kita harus keep in mind juga pada saat kita lagi present atau misalkan kita lagi ngomong sehari-hari aja kan pasti sering kita ngomong atau ada filler words lainnya. Try to just put it in your mind sambil diingat sekarang kan targetnya lagi mengurangi jadi whenever you have the urge to say it, don't say it. Emang susah. It takes a lot of practice. Tapi if you implement it, especially from now ya, kalian mungkin kelas kalau SMA ya antara kelas 10 sampai kelas 12 ya, it will maksudnya you guys are still pretty young. There's a lot of time to learn a lot of things dan if you implement this from now, walaupun mungkin untuk benar-benar mengurangi nya sampai nggak ada, it will take a couple of years. The best time to start is now gitu loh. Jadi even though it's hard, even though it's a challenge, it's something that is good if you do overcome it. Jadi mungkin itu, karena aku pun belum bisa mengurangi sampai 0 banget. It's something that I'm also still working on, tapi itu yang cara yang aku pakai selama ini.
Thank you so much for the answer, Nadia.
Okay, welcome Kaya. Ini dari teman-teman ada follow-up question lagi. Okay, kalau misalkan belum, I think that would probably be all for the adjudication session today. I would like to say congratulations to all three of you for giving a good presentation. You have very much potential as high schoolers in creating your essays and also giving presentation, and I hope you don't give up in the future. If you don't think essay and presentation is for you, maybe you can find it in another thing like debate or speech. It's a part of growing, a part of knowing what you like and what you don't like. So don't give up. And once again, good job for everyone today and hope to see you guys grow in the future. Thank you. I will give it back to Salsa.
Okay, thank you so much Kak Nadia for the feedback and also the tips. I hope all participants here, including me and also my friends, teman-teman panitia, can get the lesson. Oh yeah, I'm sorry if there's a noise here because there are renovations in the neighborhood. I hope my voice can still be heard clearly. Okay. And
Clear.
yeah. Okay, thank you. And yeah, that wrapped our competition for today. I would like to say congratulations, guys. Well done. And for the announcement of the winner will be announced at the closing of Prodigy 2022 or shortly after this, along with other competitions announcement. Further information will be noticed. Dan jadi udah boleh leave ya. Dan untuk info lebih lanjut akan aku kasih tahu lewat grup WhatsApp. Dan aku mau bilang thank you so much untuk karena dia udah bersedia menjadi juri kita hari ini. Dan juga thank you so much untuk all participants yang sudah berpartisipasi di essay presentation and competition Prodigy 2022 ini. Dan ya, jaga kesehatan. Dan I'm Salsabila Nashwa Hilman. Thank you so much all. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you everyone.
Thank you Kak Salsa, thank you Kak Nadia.
Yep,
Thank you juga. See you.